Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kaylina and this is the Magic Society, and today we are going to be talking about the sun. So let's get started. Alright, so I said in my video about what I kind of wanted to work with this year, that I wanted to work with the sun energy. And I've always felt immensely comfortable with like the night and the moon, and I've always worked more with the moon than the sun, or really a lot of the other planets, although I feel like there's certain aspects of them that I'm trying to implement more into my life, but the moon has always been like the major one. Which is funny though, because, you know, we all have a sun sign and such, and so I'm kind of trying to be more, making sure that I'm being more authentically me this year as well, because I feel like the past years I've just kind of let myself conform into what I felt like I should be for everyone else, and I think I definitely lost my true self along the way. And honestly, I don't think I've ever gotten that perfectly down, where I actually put in a message on Instagram just the other day about how it's just hard to be like yourself in front of people. Like, you want to be yourself and you feel your best when you're being authentically you, but at the same time, it's always just like this fear of being not liked by everyone around you. And so I'm trying to break that habit. I'm trying to break my habit of always being me, no matter what situation I'm in. And so really working with my sun sign this year and kind of digging into the dark aspects of it and like the shadow work of it, and being the best version of a Virgo I can be. Because every sun sign, every moon sign, every rising sign, they all have their pros and cons, but trying to be authentically the best version of yourself. That is what I'm trying to accomplish this year. And so, yeah, and I've just been, a lot of sun stuff has been popping up in my life as of late. And I definitely do not feel like that is a coincidence. And so we are starting to work with the sun, and I've already noticed a big difference as I've been working with it. So we're just going to talk about the sun a little bit. I do have notes here on the computer, so if I keep on looking over here, that is why. So let's first talk about correspondences of the sun. If you're familiar with the planets or at all, then you're probably already going to know some of this stuff. But for people that aren't as familiar, obviously your day is going to be on Sunday, which I probably will just wait and release this on Sunday. It's Saturday right now, to, you know, just fit in with the sun vibes. Your number is number 6, and your element is obviously fire. Your zodiac sign corresponds with Leo, which it's funny because we just had the Leo full moon too. And I'm telling you what, I do not usually feel like I have an abundant amount of energy, but the other night on the full moon, I felt like I could go out and run a triathlon. And in fact, I actually like did my first long jog in like literally forever, and I actually didn't even feel that bad afterwards. So I feel like there was energy in the air, and it was like this very strong, like powerful, motivating, driving energy. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but usually full moons make me feel a little bit weird sometimes, because it's just, I don't know, there is something about the full moon that turns everybody into psychos. I don't know what it is, but this one for some reason felt really good though. So I was like, I'm gonna take it and I'm literally going to run with it. So colors are obviously gold and yellow. Minerals include diamonds, citrine, lemon quartz, pyrite, and yellow calcite, tiger's eye, amber, yellow topaz. The metal is gold. I really like working with tiger's eye. Tiger's eye is one of my favorites that I like to work with. I also like working with citrine. Citrine is over here on my sun little working that I've been doing for my family, and I definitely feel like that has been working. Every time I've lit it, Like, so far, knock on wood, my family has been doing okay recently. Things are kind of, you know, like just going down a positive path. And that's really what I wanted for this year for all of them, is just a good energy. And it seems to be working so far. So in Tiger's Eye just has this really strong energy that I really enjoy working with. And I've got a couple of different Tiger's Eye crystals, and so yeah, pyrite, of course, that's always really great for like money workings and stuff. So plants: bay, cinnamon, chamomile, frankincense, orange, sunflower, marigold, eyebright, St. John's wort, laurel, calendula. I like working with a lot of those. There's a lot of herbs in there that are kind of up my alley. Bay, cinnamon, orange. I have had an orange on my working over here, chamomile, and sunflowers. I love sunflowers. They're so gorgeous. Like in the fall time when all the sunflowers are up and out, I love going to the fields and just admiring the rows and rows of sunflowers. So love working with sunflowers. I wanted to put sunflowers on this working back here, but it's a little bit harder to find them right now. So and I've worked with calendula too, and that's a very happy energy flower, at least to me it is. Then you have like your different deities that fall under the sun. Obviously Apollo, Helios, Mithra, Sol, Sana, Solus, Inti, Amaterasu, and Ra. Offerings: candles, honey, incense, water, wine, yellow flowers. And then you have like your other incense such as amber, cinnamon, and citrus fruits, which for me, I really like the citrus fruits, the lemons, especially oranges, all of those. They just bring in this warmth kind of energy and this refreshing feel, and I'm all about it. So next I want to talk about phases. So obviously we're all very familiar with phases of the moon, but there's also phases of the sun as well that you can work with, which I found interesting because I didn't really think about that before as I was doing research about the sun, but it's true. The sun has phases too. And you can correspond your workings with the different phases of the sun to get potentially a better outcome. So for instance, dawn represents like your infant or your young child. And these are really good workings for just starting fresh, beginning new, anything that you're wanting to bring into your life. Those are the kind of good workings that you can do for dawn. Then you have your morning, which is like your adolescent brother, and it also corresponds with like love. And so this phase is all about growth and expanding, build upon the positive. You can use this for courage to resolve unsolved problems. This phase can also bring warmth and harmony to home and family, as well as relationships in general. And you can also use it for romance and sex, and maybe a little financial aid as well. Because what's wrong with a little bit of financial aid? Then you have noon, which is considered your father sun. And this is a great time to charge crystals as well as other ritual tools. It's the equivalent to a full moon in all things involving love, finance, justice, and protection. Health magic is also a great thing to do. And you can also use this while you're studying and to retain knowledge. Magnify and illuminate your energy workings during this phase. Then you have afternoon, and this is like your sage/warrior sun. And so this is about handling things that need clarity or resolution. All things require a strategic approach, good for professionalism, business matters, and things relating to communication. Pretty much any interactions involving other people. Create rituals involving new ideas, adventures, and travel. Other topics may include wisdom, tenacity, and skills to get rid of BS. Then lastly, you have your sunset, which is like your grandfather/sacrificial son. And this is compared to the waning moon, a time to simplify things or to tie up loose ends, a good time to focus on breaking bad habits, getting rid of stress, confusion, and poor health, uncover deception, as well as psychic activities and divination. So, and obviously everyone's different, but I tend to really love sunrise and sunset. Like, probably just because of how gorgeous it is. And both of those times feel very still. They're very still and very quiet, which I tend to draw towards, especially recently. Like, in the early mornings when all you can hear is just the birds singing, there's something so incredibly peaceful about that. And there's something about it that just draws me into the earth. And I feel like I've been trying recently to really make going on walks a priority and to ground and to really just listen to the environment around me. Or sometimes I'll do the opposite where I will pick, the peak time of the day for the sun during the afternoon and listen to hardcore music and go for a run to try to get some of that motivational energy back into my body, because it has been a long time, people. It's been a long time since I've made like exercise and health a priority. And so that's probably why all the sun imagery and stuff has been slapping me in the face, because it's probably just like, you need to freaking take care of yourself and get moving again. Like, just get moving. I've been in this lazy come home and sleep stage for way too long, and it's time to break out of the habit. And this year, there's good energy in the air. It's the year of karma, and I'm hoping that I've got good karma coming and that this is going to be a good year. So, but anyway, yeah, sunrise and sunset are usually like my favorite times, just because, well, honestly, probably because there's that duality between the moon and night transferring into the day and the light. I've been also like, this is weird. I've also been really drawn to like the duality of things recently. Feminine and masculine energy, night and day. And I guess just the balance between the two. And that's also something that I want to work so hard towards this year, is just finding balance. Like, I feel like when the scales are so totally tipped, you're off. Like, your whole alignment is off. And so I'm trying to find balance. So I'm usually more of a night person. Night owl. Love staying up late, even though I have to wake up early the next morning. I'm just more comfortable in the night. I'm more comfortable with my feminine side. But I'm trying to work with, obviously, the sun and the light and day, as well as my masculine energy, as I'll kind of share later. So just finding balance within everything. So in general, the sun represents these different like correspondences, such as it represents the energy of life. It literally is life-bringing. If we didn't have the sun, we'd all be dead. So obviously it brings life. It brings consciousness, well-being, confidence, joy, positive sense of worth and purpose, vitality and health, success, empowerment, ambition, enlightenment, goals, generosity, male energy, freedom, leadership, creativity, friendship, and growth. So all really good and positive things, right? And I feel like I'm feeling the most differences with my health right now, as well as like the empowerment and self-worth. I am definitely finding that I am feeling those more, and also the male energy, like trying to get more of that male energy, because, and not like, I mean that as in like male energy is connected with action. So, and feminine energy is more about the relaxation and resting and like inner work, but the male energy is all about like go and do stuff, and there's beauty in both, right? And we all have both within us. Like, you don't have, just because you're either born a male or a female, it doesn't mean you don't have the other energy inside of you as well. Maybe it's a little bit harder to activate at times, because like I said, I do feel I've always been more drawn to the feminine energy, and it's not just because I'm female, it's just that's just been more natural to me. So I mean, you could be a male and feel more feminine energy, and perfectly fine. Like, I'm just saying, I feel like maybe no matter how we're born or how we feel about ourselves, we may lean towards one more than the other, but I feel like if you can find that perfect balance between both, you're golden. You are in a good state. But yeah, so, and it probably also helps with, like, I've been trying to work with, so I created a new sigil the other day that's kind of like, I call it the badass hero energy, and it has been working wonders since I've been working with it. I just feel like every day we're going on a quest and it's going to be a great day. And I hope it to continue to work with that energy because, like, you know how you feel. Like when you watch like an epic movie with this epic hero and you're just like, yes, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. I want to go on quests and be this epic hero. And so that energy, I feel like, also just works really well with the action drivenness of the sun. And so that's sigil I've been working with. I've been working with some of my glamour sigils as well, trying to implement those more, and just anything, and not for anybody else, just for myself, because I want to get back to feeling good about myself and realizing that no one else around me is going to do that for me. I have to do that for myself. So it's a lot of inner working, and I have noticed a difference. While I've been trying to work with kind of that energizing energy of the sun in some of my glamour magic, because it's like all of a sudden I'll notice people are more like a little bit more like drawn to wanting to interact with me. Like a lot of the times I just kind of have the energy of not an unfriendly energy. Like it's not an unfriendly energy, because obviously I'm in a work that works with people and it's a very healing modality. So you don't want people to be like not wanting to interact with you, but it's just kind of a little bit guarded at times, because when you are working with so many bodies and so many energies, it can become very overwhelming very fast. And so there's always kind of a guard up. But since I've been working with this energy, it's not that the guard's not still protecting my energy, but it's more like I just feel like people are naturally drawn, and I'm maybe coming across even a little bit more like friendly and open and energized than before. And I've noticed this a couple times I've been at restaurants, like even the waiters and stuff have been just like more, it's different. It's hard to explain. It's just like people are more attracted towards you. And it's just something I haven't really like experienced directly working like very purposefully with the energy and seeing the outcomes. It's funny. It's very funny. So something that I want to do that I haven't been able to do because the sun has literally not even shown itself in the last, I don't know, decade, it feels like, is the calling down the sun like ritual. And it's super simple, or at least the one that I want to do is super simple. You literally take a mirror out as the sun is coming out in the morning, and you just stand and meditate with it, and the sun reflects off the mirror and like absorbs into it, and then you can use it with different rituals, as well as it kind of energizes you as well. And so if the sun ever decides to actually make a like real appearance again, I 100% would like to go and do that and just absorb some of that sun, because I can guarantee you I would feel incredibly charged for the rest of the day, which I'd be interested to see if that would be the case. And like I said, just working on my authentic self. I do later here in a minute talk about like sun signs and working with your sun sign and kind of how that looks like for me, or at least things I'm wanting to implement here in the future. Because a sun sign, I mean, everybody, if you know literally nothing about astrology and you hear someone mentions sun sign, odds are you will probably have some idea of that, because their sun sign, everyone, that's kind of like what most people are most familiar with, or it's one that somebody works with. You know, the big three are usually what people work with: sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign. But I find anymore, for me personally, my sun sign and my rising sign are like dual. They're like on the same level. And then my moon sign, I mean, it's probably, honestly, they're probably all three kind of on the same level, because they all three make up so much of you. Like, they are the little bit heavy-handed compared to where your other planets and signs lie. But those big three, they make up a huge part of who you are, like at your core, how people see you and how you interpret your emotions and how you share yourself with other people. So, but looking at my core sun sign and kind of going back and really looking at what my sun sign represents and how I'm living it, I think will help kind of balance me back out. At least I'm hoping so. So recently I had a medium tell me that I needed to work on my joy. And obviously joy is one of the things that corresponds with the sun. And so I found that funny that, yeah, it's like the universe has been telling me, hey, you really need to work with sun energy, because it is uplifting, it is happy, it is joyful, and just like energy driven. And so I was like, yeah, you know, they are right. I have been a little bit mopey in my life as of late. And not even, and the other thing is, seasonal depression for me is a thing. Like, the winter time, I am not a happy camper. Like, it's just, and it probably is because the sun is never out. And before, it was always, I just felt like too cold and unmotivated to go out and embrace nature. But this year I've been trying really hard, even if it's been like really cold, to just bundle up and go out into nature, because I have felt so much better. And just sitting among the trees and meditating. And even if it's cloudy, it doesn't mean the sun's not there. It's still there. We're just not feeling it as prevalent as a bright, sunny summer day, you know? And so I've been really trying to force myself out into nature, because even if it's cloudy, the sun's still up there, and I can still hopefully get some of that energy out of it. And I feel so much better. Like, there is night and day difference compared to if I go a week with going out and taking walks compared to a week where I don't do anything. Major difference. So I would encourage you, even if it's just simple walks, because most of the time that's what I can handle. Most of the time. Just getting out, doing something, even if it's just 10-15 minutes, I have felt an enormous difference in my energy levels. And it's being very, like, intentional with working with this energy. So yeah, had a medium tell me that I needed to find more joy in my life, which I agree. I was also drawn to yellow calcite, which I didn't. So the fun thing about this is that obviously I know some about the sun, but I didn't know about all of the correspondences before I decided to work with it, which is kind of fun if you don't know everything involving a certain thing you're working with, because then when correspondences like hit you, then all of a sudden you're like, and you go and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, that is totally relative to what I'm trying to work with. Then you're like, see, correspondences are a thing. Like, there are no coincidences. There is a reason. If you can listen to your higher self or your other spiritual guides or just the universe in general, they lead you to what you're supposed to be working with. And so my sister and I were at one of our favorite like spiritual shops, and I just kept being drawn to the orange, like yellow calcite. And so my sister, being super sweet, she got me this little calcite spider, which is funny and ironic because I am so deathly afraid of spiders, but I also said that this year I want to work on fear, and so trying to embrace the spider for what it is, despite the fact it absolutely freaking terrifies me. In fact, the other day I was so scared because I had this like thing on the back of my neck and it hurt like really bad, and my body was just feeling kind of gross, like just feeling kind of sick. And of course, I'm used to not feeling good most of the time, like it's just my new normal. And so most of the time I can kind of just play it off as, oh, it's something fibro related and move on with my day. But this, it was just making me feel gross. My muscles were super achy. And then of course, you know, everyone's best friend, Wikipedia, or, you know, what's the other one called? The Google Health or whatever. And, you know, it was talking about spider bites and stuff. And then I was just on this roll of I got bit in the middle of the night and now I'm, you know, being poisoned by a spider. That's how dramatic I was feeling. And then my mom looked at it and she's like, honestly, sweetie, I think it's just maybe like an ingrown hair or something. And I think that's what it is. And then a couple of days later, I felt perfectly fine. But I was having the muscle aches. I was having like a headache, which thank God, thank the universe, God, whatever you believe in, that I don't get like just regular headaches very often. I get an extreme form of them every now and then if I'm under a lot of stress, like I have a special medical condition. But most of the time I don't get just like kind of those just annoying little ones that just linger all day and you can tell that it's there and it's just annoying. Fortunately, don't get those very often, but I had like 2-3 days where it was just kind of lingering around, where it wasn't like beyond painful, it just was annoying. And I can't handle that. Like, I cannot handle that at all. And so I thought for sure I had gotten bit in the middle of the night. And so anyway, this is totally unregards to solar or sun, but anyway, spiders, they freak me out. I've never liked them, but I did find this little cowkite spider really cute. And he represented, or yellow cowkite does, the sun. So that was kind of cool. Because that was just another correspondence with the universe telling me to work with the sun. Because I was drawn to this specific crystal. I'm also continuing to use that spray that I made. That has just some kind of good energy to it. It's also used for like protection as well. But I keep spraying it every time I light this candle over here, and I just feel like it gives it a little bit of an oomph. And then I keep it by the window charging in the sun all the time too, so that probably helps as well. Okay, so I kind of want to talk about the sun sign stuff next, because obviously everyone has their own sun sign. I'm going to be talking about mine personally because it's my sun sign, and so it's relative to me. But like finding, like I was talking about, finding your authentic self within your sun sign. And so I'm a Virgo, and I am very much Virgo, and my rising sign is Scorpio and moon sign Cancer. So yeah, Virgos, I am very much the epitome of Virgo. Good, bad, both sides. Like, I am a Virgo at heart. And so, for instance, like Virgos, we very much, good or bad, kind of mix of both, we have this want and need to be like appreciated and to be seen as useful. If we don't feel useful, we spiral. And that's why a lot of the times we're kind of associated with being a perfectionist. And I can't speak for all Virgos because every person is different, and sometimes I feel like your rising sign may dominate your sun sign, just depending on who you are. And so, but I am a perfectionist. I don't like when things are not done at least to the best of somebody's ability. And so, yeah, people that and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but like people that are very relaxed and just casual about everything that they do. And like, they're just like, well, if it turns out, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Those kind of people, like, that, I wish I could be more like that, because like the signs that are very like drawn to perfectionism. Like, that drives us crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, we cannot, like, at least I cannot comprehend, like, just doing something maybe kind of not to your full effort and just calling it a day. That's why in school I was always that obnoxious student where if we did group projects, I pretty much just did every aspect of the project because I couldn't handle someone only putting half effort into something and then presenting it in front of the whole class. So I am the perfectionist side of Virgos. Not every Virgo is going to be like that, but I am. And so, and there is this very much this feeling of wanting to be needed, like wanting people to want to have me around and to be helpful. And if I can't be like that, then I feel useless. And so I need to work on that more, because if anything has shown me these past 6 years is that nobody is going to validate you, you know? Like, you may have people that deeply care about you and that, you know, are there for you, but they are not going to always be there to validate you as a person. You have to create your own self-worth. And I'm saying all of this to myself. And if anybody else, you know, deals with this as well, it's a hard lesson to learn. But I feel like part of my journey has been being hurt by people along the way to finally get the lesson through that although it's wonderful to have groups of friends and, you know, people that you feel like admire you for you, that there's no guarantee they're always going to be there. So you have to be confident in yourself to be able to go out and fulfill what you're supposed to do without relying on anyone else to help get you there, if that makes sense. And that may sound a little bit dark and bitter as far as like you can't trust anybody. But there's no guarantee, you know, there is no guarantee. And although a partner may help compliment you or may help encourage you at times, you still have to be strong on your own and not be using anybody as a crutch, if that makes sense. And so that's a big lesson that I'm trying to dig myself out of, because I definitely at times let my pride and my ego get in the way. Like, if somebody doesn't think I've done good enough, like, it's like a personal offense to me. And it shouldn't be like that, you know? Like, I am not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that is perfectly okay, you know? Like, you're not going to please everybody on the planet. It's just impossible. And so, that's something I need to work on. And just being comfortable within my own self. And I definitely don't need validation from anyone else around me. So yeah. And another good example of this was, so I was in Dollar Tree the other day and I was really flattered. It was really nice and it made me feel good that, you know, at least I've still got some kind of something going for me, because in Dollar Tree this guy came over and he actually asked me for my number, which was really nice. But I could tell, and some people are gonna absolutely probably hate me if I say this, but some people need to get their freaking head out of the weed, man. Like, and I have no problem with weed. I hate the smell of it, but that's just because of my fibro and the senses. All my senses are like overdone, so anything that remotely smells kind of just grungy, I can't handle it. Like, my nose, I just get overwhelmed. But I don't have a problem with people doing weed responsibly, but I feel like there are some people out there that just rely on it so heavily to like live their life, and that it is causing like brain malfunctions almost, to the point where like you're just slower than the rest of the population of like coming to conclusions. And I only say this because we were going to go out and get some drinks or whatever. Fine, whatever, great. Just casual, just get to know each other. He just moved from San Diego. And so he wanted to get to kind of know some people, and, you know, great, fine, dandy. But honestly, throughout the day, I was just getting this sense that I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to have any kind of relation with another, human like that, even if it's like super casual. And so I ended up reaching out to him, and I was just like, hey man, it has nothing to do with you. It's just, I am not ready for this step yet. My divorce is finishing up on Monday. So and it wouldn't be fair to him for me to, go out and still be just having these underlying thoughts of, I'm going to get deceived, I'm going to get hurt. I need to get over that and do some more self-healing before I get involved. But, it was flattering at the time, of course. And so I ended up texting him, and then all of a sudden he sends this other text message, way later, hey, I hope you had a good day, can't wait to meet you later. And the funny thing is, he never gave me the address of where we were supposed to meet. He told me the day I met him that he would text me the next day. It was literally 4 o'clock, and it was 6 o'clock when we were supposed to meet. And he hadn't texted me that entire time. And then I had texted him, and then he sends me that message, which shows me he clearly did not read my text message, because it explained that I wasn't coming because I wasn't ready, and that I apologized, and that it was nice to meet him. And so I'm like, okay, not even worth my time and energy. If you can't even read the freaking text, there's a problem. And he even admitted that, he asked, he's like, well, are you a drinker, and do you do weed? And I'm like, okay, first of all, pretty much no to both of them. And especially with my job right now, my second job, driving around children, there's no way. There is no way I'm participating in either of those. I can't. If I were to get a test, I would fail. And so it's just, and yes, I've done weed a couple times in my life, but honestly, and I have no problem with people that do it recreationally and who are responsible with it. That's fine. And trust me, I get it. Sometimes you just need to just chill. If nothing else can get you to chill and that works, and it finally gets your body into some sort of resting state, then yeah, that's fine. Just do it responsibly is my only thing, is just anything, do it responsibly. But I do feel like people, it's just a crutch now. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying some people have literally turned it into a crutch. And it's there's just no, and Virgos, we're pretty we like order and organization. We like timeliness for the most part. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but I feel like majority of Virgos. And so that kind of stuff, just, I can't handle it. I don't like being late. I like organization. I like promptness. And I could tell he was one of those guys that he looks at your text and then he purposely does that stupid thing where he has to, wait a allotted amount of time before he texts back because you don't want to look too eager. I'm like, dude, I don't got time for that, man. If I see your text and you've just texted, I'm texting you right back, because 10, 15, 20 minutes from now, I may not have the time. So it's not because, I'm eager and, have boundary issues. It's because I legitimately like timeliness. If I see your text and I've got time, I'm going to text you back. So, but that's just me, and everyone is different, and I respect and, honor that. It's just, yeah, he was just all over the board. And I could tell, I'm like, okay, dude, get your head out of the weed at least 10 minutes so we can have a clear, concise conversation, because it was almost to the point where he was doing way too much that he was just scrambled. There's relaxed where you can still function pretty much normally, and then there's you are high as a fucking kite and there's no having a reasonable conversation with you whatsoever. And that's the point that we were at. Again, another tangent. Sorry. Back to the topic at hand. So the other thing that I like to look at is where the sun lies within your houses. And so for instance, my sun, which is another thing that I'm wanting to focus on, is probably my 10th house, because that is where the sun sits for me. And so the 10th house is all surrounded by career and reputation and ambition and social status, fame and power. And so this year I want to focus more on, like my career and where I'm kind of wanting to go. You know, I'm almost 30 years old. I need to be having some kind of goal for myself. And so, and career, since it is in my sun sign, or my sun, which is a very prominent, planet, career is going to make a difference for me. And so, especially if I'm not doing something I'm passionate for, which is also something it mentions, is that I'm not going to feel balanced for myself if I don't have a career that I actually feel passionate about. There's people out there that, can do jobs where they may not love their job, but they've got a lot of other hobbies and other side things that bring them joy and that fulfill them. And so they can handle having a job that maybe isn't their favorite, but it pays the bills. Then you have your other people that, your career is, you can't get away with that. You have to feel passionate about your job. Otherwise, you just don't feel like doing it. And so you have the flip side of it, where you have to have a job that you're passionate about, because otherwise you're not going to feel full, And honestly, I feel like that's everybody. Personally, I think everybody should find a job that they love as much as, a hobby, because that's how you're gonna truly be living yourself, fully. Obviously, that's not possible for everybody, At the end of the day, we've got to pay our bills. We've got to make things work, So if you find a good job that you pretty much like for the most part, no job is perfect, obviously. But if 70-80% of it you enjoy doing, and the rest, you can just kind of be like, well, it's part of the job, then, that's good. But I definitely found that before I became a massage therapist, that I was just not happy. I was not happy because I just knew the job wasn't something I was meant to do forever, but I just couldn't figure out what it was that I was supposed to be doing, and I just felt kind of lost, I was just wandering around aimlessly. And so for me, since it is in that house with, career, I have to have something that I feel like I'm actually, making a positive difference. And so look at where your sun sign is and what house it's in, because that could also really help you show what you should be working on and what aspects are really important to you as a person. And it's going to be a little bit different for everybody because each house represents something different. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is, as far as astrology goes, is look at where the sun opposes another planet in your chart. So for instance, when I did this one, it actually did kind of hit home, and I felt like it was legitimately a message or from my guides. And so my sun is opposing Saturn. And obviously Saturn has kind of the bad reputation of the planets of being kind of the one of hard truths, hard lessons. It's not always the easiest things in life that Saturn is surrounding. And so for me, for instance, or at least especially within these last 6 years, I always kind of felt like if I failed or there was disappointment, I took it very personally. And so, which I've said many a times, that I just need to be more aware that bad things happen in life because they're lessons that just need to be learned. We're all here to evolve. We're all here to learn certain things as we go on this crazy journey called life. And so that is a lesson that I need to learn, is that not everything that turns out wrong is a fail, and that and both sides. It's not a fail on my part, and it's not a fail on someone else's part either. It's just a growth thing. And everybody sees the world so differently, and we learn lessons so differently, and sometimes we have to be part of a hard lesson so that we can learn our lesson and that other person can learn theirs. And so that's a big one, especially looking back and realizing that my sun opposes Saturn, and Saturn, I feel, what do I want to say? I don't know. I don't know what I want to say. I think I'm moving on. Yeah, self-awareness and like self-consciousness. I think everybody struggles with it. Even if you are a bold person, let's say like Leo, you still are going to feel self-consciousness and it weighs on you. And so I think everybody kind of has that lesson to learn, that even if you come across as the most confident person, you're struggling with something. And to be able to, you know, hopefully balance that out of, I mean, I'm not saying to always be like this arrogant, you know, asshole type person where you're just nothing ever gets to you. I mean, there is beauty in being humble and being able to admit mistakes, but like I said at the beginning of the video, balance. It's all about balance. So, yeah. So like I said at the beginning, I'm obviously more comfortable with the night. I love just the mystery and mysticism of the dark. I obviously, the moon rules Cancer, which is my moon sign, so there's a lot of that drives inside of me too, which is kind of funny because I am kind of a duality as well, which is kind of fun because you have like the moon, which is the dark and the very strong in their emotions and stuff, and then you have the sun sign, which is, you know, Virgo, and you have Scorpio too, and they're kind of, it's kind of opposite of Cancer, which is very, I mean, Scorpios are very like passionate and feel things deeply as well, and then Virgos can be, we're passionate, but we're not, we can sometimes come across as a little cold. Not intentionally, it's just we're more detail-oriented, and we're not quite as emotionally driven as some of the other ones. So you would think I'd have a decent balance of both sides, but I have not learned to manage them yet. But yeah, also through tarot recently, it's really been driving me into action. It just keeps telling me it's not time for rest, it's time to keep going. There will be a time for rest later, but right now you need to keep going and focus on your goals. And so tarot has been telling me that the sun energy has just been, like I said, smacking me in the face recently. So then the last thing I want to talk about is like the symbols of the sun. Obviously you have like the circle with the dot in the middle, and then you have the swastika. And I could just literally re-murder Hitler for taking that as his sign, because the swastika literally shows up in lots of different cultures, and it never once meant what Hitler wanted it to mean. But now, of course, anytime anyone sees a swastika, they're just like automatically Hitler. And so it's got a very negative take on it now, even though it's not what its original purpose was for at all. In fact, the swastika is one of few universal meanings between different cultures, that everyone had a version of it that represented like the sun. And the cool thing is that it also represents the moon too. So if it's clockwise, if the arms are clockwise, it represents the sun. If it's counterclockwise, it represents the moon. And so again, the duality of the two. And so it's actually, swasti is a Sanskrit word, and it means well-being or so be it. And a lot of the times it's that, as well as the other sign with the circle and the dot in the middle, represents like a wheel turning in the sky, which is also represented by the sun as well. And so those are a couple different symbols, or how the sun shows up. And the sun can also represent the eye of God, as portrayed in the all-seeing eye. You can also use flowers, lions, eagles, stags, and gold to represent it as well. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was how the sun has been popping up in my life lately. So at least how it's been coming to me. Obviously, like I said, probably a couple times in this video already, everyone is different, so the way correspondences show up to you may be a little bit different. My main advice for that is just always be aware. Keep your eyes open to the possibilities of the universe giving you messages. The more and more you are aware, the more and more you're going to pick up on things. And don't question it too much. Like, if something all of a sudden you feel drawn to and you're wanting to work with a certain energy, look it up. See if it corresponds with that. And you may be really surprised. Like, I've been really surprised lately with the amount of things that the sun has been coming to me in. So, for instance, I was driving to work and there was a car right in front of me that literally had the Sun Tarot card sticker right on the back. So that was another sign of, hey, you need to be working with this. Like I explained, being drawn to this little yellow calcite crystal, and then later looking up calcite and realizing that it was associated with the sun. I've seen some animals that kind of involve like action, which is also, you know, a big part of the sun energy is that motivating action energy. And so I believe one of them was the blue jay, and the blue jay keeps appearing to me. Like, usually I don't really pay attention to like the blue jays. I mean, obviously they're a native bird around here, especially in the wintertime, so but it seems like they've been like directly flying within my path, within my view. And so, and I looked it up, and it's definitely related to kind of more masculine, action-driven type energy. So I'm like, okay, that could definitely be it. Feeling drawn to working with the sun. Like, obviously, you know, like, we invited back in the sun, and we're wanting to invite that energy back into our life naturally around this time of the year, but I've never felt like truly connected or had any kind of indication that that's what I needed to be working with right now. But this year was different. I definitely have been getting the feeling of wanting to work with it more. And then the sun also deciding to try to kind of dig back into my Slavic culture, and the sun being such a big symbol that represents, you know, paganism, Slavic paganism, and so it also represents like life and family blessings, protection for the home, ancestral wisdom, and energy. And so the other thing that I want to share is I've been starting to work with my ancestors again. And I wanted to do a tarot reading, and because I got this new cool tarot book about ancestry and how you can use it in tarot readings. And the sweetest, like, coolest thing. So one of the questions was how your ancestors see you. And I pulled the sun card, which literally pretty much like kind of had me in tears, because that's literally one of the happiest cards in the deck, guys. Like, literally one of the happiest cards, and it means all these things. And I was just like, thanks, guys. Like, that was really cool, because obviously when you start working with ancestors, at least for me personally, like, and I'm lucky. I have my biological ancestors, which are predominantly Russian, probably, most likely. But then I have my adopted ancestors too. And so I get two sides of just this huge long line of family. And for them to pull that card and be like, no, you are like a blessing to the family, like, that was so cool. Like, that was so cool. And it was just something I like needed to hear. And it was, I mean, out of all the cards to pull the sun card, that for that particular question too, I was just like, literally, I was tearing up. And I'm tearing up right now just because, like, starting to work with your ancestors, I mean, you don't know everyone who's been in your family history. You know, you're gonna have people that lived a great and awesome life, but you're also gonna have people that are probably like, I could care two shits about you and I don't want to like talk to you or work with you. But it was just cool that obviously whoever was coming through is invested in, you know, me and wants to work with me. And honestly, I was kind of surprised because, yes, I've kind of talked to my ancestors a little bit before, but I've never like deeply worked with them. And so honestly, I was surprised that I got any kind of connection at all, kind of like right off the bat, because, you know, they're probably like, well, you've ignored me for all these years. Why would I want to work with you now? But that was not the interaction I got. And so I'm really excited to start working with them further, and I'll probably share, you know, my stories as I go along, because I've already had a couple other ones too. But yeah, so I pulled the sun card for that question, working with my ancestors. So it just keeps popping up. And then, like I mentioned, the Leo full moon, like that's obviously not sun related, but Leo is ruled by the sun. And there was a just strong, motivating energy the other day. And I felt it last night too. And it could just be because that's my mindset right now, that I'm just really trying to be motivated as best as I can. But I'm not even having to try as hard. I just feel like the energy is naturally there. And then lastly, so to embrace my more masculine, action-based energy, I'm like, I've always wanted to take like a sword fighting class, like fencing or something. And so there's this really cool company down here in Kansas, or it's on the Missouri side, but it's called like Bear Swords. And so I took my first class last Monday, and I'm going back again because I loved it so much. But there is nothing that makes you feel more like a badass than wielding around a stick, trying to smack people with it, and learning grappling techniques, which I didn't realize was going to be happening, that class involved like takedown, like literally takedown moves. And so the class I took was like an exotic weapons class, and so we were handling a bunch of different weapons and things, and it was super fun. And I was immensely sore the next day into all of this week, but it was so worth it, and I'm going back and my battery's about to die. So anyway, getting moving again, doing different exercising, making things fun. Like exercise doesn't have to be boring and brutal and awful, like it can be fun. And so that is another mission that I'm working with when it comes to the sun energy. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. As always, be kind, speak your truth, always stay curious. I will see you next time for another video, and see you later. Bye.